Hey y'all, it's Myria Com again. I already did a recording today, but I got some inspiration after already editing and posting that one, so we'll record this one as well and save it for a rainy day. Like tomorrow. Or sometime soon. Anyway, I don't know, I just kind of stumbled across a video of someone talking about, like, oh, what's the point of life, blah blah blah. And this is like a question I ask a lot because I was raised in a conservative household, raised in a religious household, religious household, struggling with words suddenly because of course I am the minute I try and record something. And so growing up in I'll just like actually throw it out there, a Catholic household, the idea was, you exist because something created you and there's a purpose and you exist for a reason kind of thing. And, mainly you exist for the thing that created you, but, whatever. You also exist to be good to other people. Okay, that's great. That's a good reason to exist. I don't know how much, I am now, as an adult, an atheist. I don't really believe that there is any higher power out there. If there is a higher power of some kind that, like, created everything, I either think it is more of, like, the watchmaker theory, where if there is a higher power that created us, it did that and then moved on to the next thing and doesn't give a crap about what happens next. Or, if there is a higher power, another potential theory is that it's kind of an asshole. Because if there is something out there that created all of this and then just left us to our own devices, that's kind of rude. I mean, here, have a planet. Enjoy fucking it up. But anyway, so I don't really believe in that sort of stuff. I think we evolved. Maybe there's a purpose to it, maybe there's not. But what I wanted to get to in this recording is most of the time when people, like, say they want to talk about this, people will usually say something like super inspirational or motivational, like, of course there's a reason, you make a difference, you existing is important and it changes things, and you, even if you're not, like, the most influential or whatever, you're doing things. Or they might say something like, even if you, just the fact that you exist changes things, so just the fact that you're here at all is, like, changing the world and making a difference, and so you existing matters because you are changing things merely by existing, merely by, like, interacting with people on a day-to-day basis. You are changing things, and that's important. And I don't really know that is necessarily, like, the purpose or that's what makes us important, but I tend to unintentionally, I'm not exactly like, suddenly forgot the word I was trying to say. I don't like to just, like, make contradictions for the sake of making contradictions. What is the word for that? There is a word for that. Anyway, whatever. There's a word for that and I can't think of it right now. And I feel dumb. But I shouldn't feel dumb. I am human, I'm allowed to forget things. But so I don't, like, try to do that, but I kind of tend to do it in my head. Like, oh, I'm just gonna play devil's advocate. And what if, like, okay, yes, it is a fact that by existing you are changing things. Like, if I didn't exist, then things would be different because I wouldn't be here. That is a fact. That is a fact of life. However, instead of taking the, like, It's a Wonderful Life approach to things and say, oh, well, look at all of these things that are better because you're here. Is the opposite also not potentially true? Like, what if a given person's existence is actually making things worse? And it doesn't have to be, like, in a huge way. Just like any given person existing doesn't have to make the world better in a huge way. Like, yeah, the fact that when I called the pharmacy this morning, I said some nice stuff to them about, like, oh, well, it's, like, the weather really sucks outside, and I hope that when you leave, you are safe on your way home. Like, that's a nice thing to say to someone that they may not have heard today because people just want to get their prescriptions, whatever. But, maybe they also would hear that from someone else who's not me, you know? Just because I said a nice thing to someone doesn't mean I'm automatically making the world better or making life better, you know? And also, what if my existence is making things worse for people somehow? For example, what if, like, in my current job, I know people appreciate me and people appreciate what I do, but if I didn't exist, and I had never gotten that job, even if I had just never gotten that job and I still did exist somewhere else, whatever. If someone else had gotten that job, maybe they would be doing a better job. Like, why is the automatic assumption that, oh yeah, I'm automatically doing, like, making things better simply because people like the way I do things and like my work? Whatever. That doesn't automatically mean it's the best it could be. That doesn't automatically, you know, like, simply the fact that someone else who could be better at my job could have gotten my job, and they didn't because I got it. Like, that is a potentiality out there, wouldn't you say? So, I don't know. I'm not trying to be a devil's advocate, but I'm also saying, like, yeah, you can say the nice thing of, oh, you existing means you have purpose, and you existing is changing the world. And the implication is that's a good thing, but I don't know. What if it's not? I'm not saying, like, anyone should do anything drastic or anything like that. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, to me, that is not inspirational, because put the shoe on the other foot. Like, it's not, in my estimation, yeah, maybe I am changing things for the better by existing, but maybe I'm also changing things for the worse by existing. I personally find it very hard to just say, yep, I exist, so therefore I have purpose, and therefore I am doing good, and I am making the world better, or I am doing whatever. Maybe that's not the implication, but it seems to be the implication in my estimation. Yeah, I just don't know. And very obviously this is not meant to be inspirational. It's more of just like a thought experiment of, okay, what does this actually mean? Let's actually think about it to its logical extremes. We've got the logical extreme people already like to do, which is, yep, everything would be far, far worse if you didn't exist, but I don't know. I just also wonder how much better would things be if I didn't exist. Like, just as an example, I'm going through all this, like, family stuff where I'm not talking to my parents. If I didn't exist, they wouldn't have a child who is estranged from them. So, wouldn't they feel better in that case? I don't know. It's just a whole thing. Like, because I do exist, I have to protect myself and do that sort of thing to protect myself. And maybe that makes their lives worse. Maybe that sucks. I don't know. Well, and it kind of makes the rest of my family's lives worse too, because we can't be a whole family. So, wouldn't it be better if I just didn't exist in that case? I don't know. And like, I've thought of, this isn't the only time I've ever thought of that. It's not just because all the family stuff going on. I've thought about it before. Thought about it a lot. Especially with all the mistakes I have made in my life and not really making a good future for myself, even though I try. Yeah, like I just feel like I've made too many poor choices and it's led to not having a good future. And how, like, if I had made better choices, I could have a better future and I could be more secure in my life, and therefore I could offer more to other people and actually have a purpose in life. And I just, it's one of those things, like, maybe at some point you don't add anything by existing. At least I feel like I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I do in the smallest of ways, but I don't know that that's really, like, worth it. I don't know that that's really a quote-unquote purpose. Just existing and doing, like, the bare minimum of being a good person in terms of, for example, being nice to my coworkers, smiling at them throughout the day, like that sort of thing. Offering advice when I can, which feels ridiculous half the time. Maybe it's just a fact of, like, the world we currently live in feels so pointless. It feels like there's so much going against anyone's future right now that it feels hard. But like I said, I have felt this way for a long time. It's not a new thing. It's something I have felt a lot for most of my life, I would say. Like, since the point I have started caring about that sort of thing. Like, as a kid, you don't really care about, like, what's the purpose of life. You're just being a kid and doing kid stuff most of the time. I should not in every single case, obviously, but in a lot of cases. So, but since I, like, got to a point in life where I did care about that stuff, it's kind of always been my outlook has almost never been, like, the rosy, everything is great, and there is a purpose, and obviously I have a purpose kind of thing. Or, obviously my existence matters kind of thing. It's more been actually questioning what the real purpose is and thinking maybe there isn't, and also wondering if maybe my existence makes things worse for people. Yep. And I mean, obviously some of that is, like, depression, and I've had that for a long time. But it's just something to think about, I guess. I don't know. I don't think thinking about these kinds of things is bad. I think exploring different facets of life and exploring the kinds of things other people don't really want to explore because it's uncomfortable can be good. Like, being uncomfortable is generally a good thing. It helps you grow and move through life, but yeah. Sorry if this has been depressing. I don't find it, like, depressing exactly. I just find it, like, very pragmatic. If you're going to entertain the idea that someone's existence is making a lot of people's lives better, you should also be willing to entertain the idea that someone's existence could be making everyone else's lives worse, too. Whether or not that's true is a whole different question, but, like, I think it's worth entertaining, it's worth looking at, it's worth talking about and discussing and exploring. So, yeah. Maybe I'm weird. I am kind of thinking about making a playlist of, like, getting existential or something like that. Because this is kind of an existential question, I guess. And I acknowledge it is not going to be for everyone, and maybe it'll make people uncomfortable. I hope it at least made you think if you listened to all of this, because, I think exploring this kind of stuff, whether or not you agree with it, thinking about it and exploring it is worthwhile, in my opinion. So, yeah. Anyway, don't have an answer for you, because, if anyone claims they do have an answer, I think they're probably a little bit egotistical. Just a little bit. Because who does know the answer? I don't think anyone does. The older I get, I'm pretty sure everyone is just pretending they know what's going on. Or they don't actually care if there's a point to anything, and they just, are keeping going. And just going through day-to-day life. But, yeah, I don't know. If you listened, I appreciate that, and let me know your thoughts if you would like to in the comments. Again, as I've said in a couple of other videos, I don't want to try and force engagement. I understand that some people just like to listen and that's it, and not engage in any way, and that's totally fine. But if you do feel compelled to say something, I am all ears. And I would love to hear what you have to say about it. And, yeah, this has been my Riacom, getting existential. And I will chat at you again soon. Bye.